Hey guys, I'm going to do a video on Bobbi Christina Brown. I've been wanting to do it for a bit, but I haven't had a chance between people requesting certain stories to just straight up being busy. So, I'm going to start off. Bobbi Christina Brown was an American reality television and media personality and singer. She was the daughter of singer Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. She was born March 4th, 1993 in Livingston, New Jersey, and died July 26, 2015 in Duluth, Georgia. The cause of death is lumbar pneumonia induced by immersion and drug intoxication, which means being submerged underwater for a long period of time. Okay. She has 3 siblings: La Princia Brown, Landon Brown, and Bobby Brown Jr. Okay. She was an American reality TV star and media personality and singer, although I thought she really was not talented as far as singing goes, at least compared to her parents. So I'm not even gonna go into that. She was the daughter of Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. Her parents' fame kept Bobbi and Christina in the public eye, including her appearances on the reality show Being Bobby Brown. Brown was 14 when her parents divorced and Houston gained custody. When Houston died in February of 2012, Brown was the sole beneficiary of her mother's estate. Okay. Just looking through to see if there's anything interesting here that I have to analyze. That October, Brown caused controversy within both of her parents' families when she announced her engagement to Nick Gordon, a man previously considered a big brother in the family. When the couple announced they married, her father's lawyer released a statement disputing the report. Brown died of lumbar pneumonia on July 26th after being in a coma for nearly 6 months. Now, quite honestly, I don't consider her being in a coma for 6 months. I consider them keeping her on life support for 6 months. Okay? Because without the breathing machine, she wouldn't have been breathing on her own. Well, I don't even have to go through that. Brown's childhood was characterized by the media as difficult because of her parents' drug problems, the presence of paparazzi, and domestic violence issues. She was brought into the spotlight at age 1 in 1994 when her mother accepted an American Music Award while holding her on stage. Her vocals were featured in her mother's 1998 song My Love Is Your Love for her album of the same title. When her mother brought her to the recording studio, she held her up to the microphone and she said, "Sing, Mommy," which can be heard during the first verse of the song. She can also be heard saying "Clap Your Hands" at the end of the track. Brown was featured in her mother's 2003 Christmas album titled One Wish, the holiday album, in her mother's version of The Little Drummer Boy. When parents divorced in 2007, her mother was awarded custody while her father had received visitation rights. When Whitney Houston died in 2012 from what was later ruled as an accidental drowning with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors, Brown was described as inconsolable. A few days later, was admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. According to family friends, Brown was overwhelmed. The month after Whitney's death in March 2012, Brown said that she felt her mother's spirit, and Brown expressed her intent to carry on her mother's legacy by doing the same thing, along with starting a career as an actor and dancer. In accordance with her mother's will, Brown was a beneficiary of Houston's entire estate, including clothing, jewelry, cars, and personal effects and furniture. The will also provided for Brown to receive trust fund payments and installments until she reached 30, which after that time she was to receive the remainder of Houston's $115 million estate. After her mother's death, Brown was taken care of by Gary Garland and his wife Pat Houston, her uncle and aunt. In October 2012, Brown announced her engagement to Nick Gordon as a close family friend who had come to live in Houston's household when he was 12. The announcement caused controversy within the family. Before making their romantic involvement known, Brown had referred to Gordon as her big brother. Brown's grandmother, Cissy Houston, had called the relationship incestuous when they were initially dating. However, Brown said that the couple received her grandmother's blessing prior to their engagement. In 2014, Brown and Gordon announced they had been married on January 9th of that year. Bobbi Brown's lawyer said in a statement early in 2005, Bobbi Christina is not and has never been married to Nick Gordon. Brown was critical of director Angela Bassett after learning she had not been cast as her mother in the Lifetime biographical movie Whitney, based on Whitney's life. In response, Bassett stated that she did not cast Brown for a number of reasons. She's not an actress, and acting is a craft. Brown later apologized to Bassett on Twitter after generating controversy among fans. On July 31st, 2015, Gordon and a friend found Brown face down in the bathtub in her Georgia home. Gordon began CPR until emergency medical service personnel arrived. According to the police spokesman, Brown was alive and breathing after being transported to North Fulton Hospital in Roswell, Georgia. They found no evidence to indicate the incident was caused by drugs or alcohol. Doctors placed Brown in an induced coma after determining her brain function was significantly diminished, and told her family meaningful recovery would be a miracle. February 2nd, Brown was moved to Emory University Hospital, where she remained in a coma and on a medical ventilator. Her family said Brown had briefly opened her eyes, but a medical expert blinking her eyes doesn't mean she's out of the woods. Despite media reports stating Brown was brain dead and had been taken off life support, her family denied the claims on February 5th after having asked for privacy early in the week. In late February, she was briefly taken out of the coma, but it was re-induced after she suffered seizures. During a radio interview on March 25, 2015, Brown's grandmother, Cissy Houston, said Brown's condition remained the same and there was still not a great deal of hope, stating that they're praying. Brown was moved to an Atlanta rehabilitation facility in March of 2015 after Bobbi Brown told concertgoers in April that his daughter was awake. Cissy released a statement saying her granddaughter was no longer in a coma but remained unresponsive. Doctors and Brown had global and irreversible brain damage. In 2015, Bobbi Brown arranged to have his daughter flown to Chicago to be seen by a specialist, only to be told that nothing could be done. She was flown back to Atlanta and moved to Peachtree Christian Hospice in Duluth, Georgia on June 24th. Her aunt, Pat Houston, said that Bobbi Christina's condition had continued to deteriorate. Brown died in hospice care in July 26 of 2015 at the age of 22. The initial autopsy found no obvious underlying cause of death and no significant injuries. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office said more tests were forthcoming. A statement released by the family thanked everyone for their tremendous amount of love and support during the last few months. Several prominent celebrities offered their condolences, including Chris Brown, Oprah Winfrey, and Whitney Houston's prodigies, Brandy and Monica. Funeral services were held August 1st, 2015 at St. James United Methodist Church in Alpharetta, Georgia. Brown was buried 2 days later next to her mother at Fairview Cemetery in Westfield, New Jersey. The autopsy from the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office announced on September 25th that it had classified the cause and manner of Bobbi Christina's death, while citing a Superior Court order that prevented the office from releasing any details to the public. The findings were provided to the Fulton County District Attorney and Roswell Police. On March 3, 2016, Fulton County Superior Judge Henry Newkirk granted a motion requested by local media to unseal the autopsy report on Brown's death. In doing so, the judge noted that 13 months have gone by, and I don't think there's anything particularly earth-shattering in the report. Privacy interest does not exist to the deceased. The medical examiner office stated they would release the report upon official receipt of the granted motion, and gave an initial statement on March 3, 2016. The office indicated that it used both medical records and police investigative files to arrive at a determination. As to the cause of death, the medical examiner said that cannabis and alcohol were found in the body, along with prescription medicine used for anxiety and or sedation. It cited that underlying cause of death was immersion associated with drug intoxication. However, the manner of death could not be ascertained. The summary statement read, "Death was clearly not due to natural causes, but the medical examiner has not yet been able to determine whether her death was due to an incidental or accidental cause, and has therefore classified the manner of death as undetermined." Just for the simple fact that she was found exactly like her mother, can't be a coincidence. So I never thought that this was a natural occurrence. I think the same people who dealt with her mother dealt with her as well. Maybe she knew too much. Maybe she was talking too much, and they decided that had to go. Brown speaks and sings on some of her mother's recordings and televised performances, as well as on a television show after her mother's death in December 2014. Talent manager Lisanne Casino signed Brown to a 360 deal with independent label Black Capitol Records. Not that she could ever sing, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. I think they were just doing that because she was Whitney Houston's daughter, and they felt like, she needed that. In April of 2011, Pat Houston, Whitney Houston's sister-in-law, was granted a 1-year restraining order against Gordon after claiming he had sent threatening photographs and messages. Okay? It's really probably totally impossible for someone to die exactly like their mother, unless, of course, she did that on purpose. But I highly doubt that. I'm just seeing if there's anything other up here. Basically, another autopsy report is saying that she had brain damage caused by lack of oxygen because of the fact that she was underwater for so long before they found her. You know, I'm trying to see if it said anything. You know, like here they're saying that she early died in similar fashion as her mother, which we also know. And I just think the whole idea of this and what happened is just like not I'm sorry guys, I can't even think straight. Is not like possible, like I said, to be like a natural occurrence. I've always thought there was something like significantly suspicious about this case. A judge in Atlanta on Thursday ordered Bobbi Christina's partner Nick Gordon to pay $36 million in a wrongful death case. Okay, so that was another thing that was going on. They kept on basically saying that he was involved in what happened to Bobbi Christina, and they even go as far as to say that he was also present in the hotel when Whitney Houston accidentally drowned herself. So you know, and this says investigators at medical examiner's office were unable to determine exactly how Brown had died. An autopsy showed she had morphine, cocaine, alcohol, and prescription drugs in her body, but the medical examiner couldn't determine if she killed herself or if someone else killed her or her death was accidental. Okay? So that's still, you know, a question mark. And like I said, it never sat well as far as I'm concerned. I always felt like somebody did that on purpose. Like it was just like a message to whomever. And I'm just looking here if there's any other kind of information. We know that she was, you know, she had gone to rehabs. She did struggle with, you know, drug addiction, like her mother and father. I mean, so being that they found cocaine and morphine in her body, I'm not sure where the morphine would have came from. That's a little odd. So that right there kind of throws me off. Just trying to think of this. Gordon has always denied any wrongdoing and said previously, "I still dream about Chrissy like she's here. She was too terrified to bathe alone after Whitney passed. We both were. It's why this is so messed up." Okay. he said he had no idea she was in the bath until I heard a friend scream and I raced upstairs. She wasn't breathing, so I gave her mouth-to-mouth 3 minutes in and spat out some water, and that motivated me to keep going. It's the hardest and saddest thing I've ever had to do, according to Gordon. If she was afraid of taking baths by herself, what would possess her to go and take a bath by herself? And just so happened that day that she accidentally drowns. Not sure if I'm buying that whole thing, because, you know, usually when you're afraid to do something, you don't do it. So either she was unconscious and put in the tub face down, which is where I'm more headed in this story here. I seriously think that she was given morphine for whatever reasons. Maybe she didn't even know she was taking morphine, and they waited until she was unconscious, and they carried her into, took her clothes off and carried her into the bathtub and put her face down. So that's really where I'm leaning. I don't know why, but that's what my gut's telling me happened to her. They had to knock her out, and morphine would definitely do the trick. So it's really sad that she had to go the same way, you know, and so young. You know, they keep, and then here it's giving you similarities between Whitney and her. There are obvious similarities between the way they both were bruised and drugged in the bathtub, and Nick was nearby both times. Exclusively revealed that Gordon's best friend, alleged drug dealer Max Loomis, has agreed to testify against him if the grand jury, which was initially convened last fall, charges Gordon with the murders. So, I mean, if his friend is going to testify against him, I think that that says a lot. Loomis and his girlfriend were the ones to discover her body in the bathtub, after they witnessed Gordon brutalizing her in 2 separate attacks early in the evening. Loomis called 911, alerting authorities. In a chillingly similar scenario, Whitney's bruised and beaten body was face down in the tub on February 11, 2012. And, of course, her autopsy determined the 48-year-old died of an accidental drowning with cocaine as a factor, but Gordon was also at the hotel that night. Gordon has already been slapped with a $40 billion wrongful death suit by Bobbi, Christina's estate, for allegedly beating her and giving her a toxic cocktail that knocked her unconscious and likely contributed to her death, which is exactly what I just said, people. Like, I just said that out of my own mouth. Remember when I just said that? That's what I feel in my gut happened. Wow. Sometimes I'm really on point, you know, I really am. Bobbi Brown claims that he discovered she had bruises all over her body when he visited her in the hospital while she was in a coma. He believed she had been injured in an auto accident with Dayla 4 days earlier, but in an explosive interview, Dayla's sister, Ladine Gudis, disputed that. I haven't spoken to Daniela again about Bobbi and Christina not having any bruises after the accident. She said Bobbi and Christina had no bruises visible or otherwise. If Bobby Brown wants to ask me this, I will be more than happy to talk to him. So I guess she's basically saying that those bruises were not, okay, were not caused by the accident, and they were caused by Nick Gordon. Now, the question is, did Nick Gordon kill her? I'm saying most likely yes. And he could have had a part in Whitney Houston's death as well. Being that he was just the puppet as far as that goes. He was just used to perform the acts, and basically they didn't give two shits about what happened to him afterwards. So that's all I'm saying. But it's obvious that there is something not right there. So you know, I'm not sure if her singing career would have ever taken off, because she was getting voice lessons, and her voice was getting better, but definitely not to the point that I think people were expecting it to be. So here it says he was known to choke her, throw her into walls, punch her in the jaw. She would FaceTime me whenever she was distraught when something had happened and show me a bruise. So it's obvious that this dude was very abusive and controlling. And of course, I definitely believe that he contributed to her death. Just sad, you know. It's enough her mother had to go, but like, you know, then she had to go. It wasn't necessary. But who am I to say anything, right? Well, anyway, I hope she rests in peace with her mother, and they find some peace on the other side. Hopefully the truth will come out on both their behalfs one day, and there won't be any question as to why, and they could seriously rest in peace, because, you know, when people die and their true the true reason why they died isn't found out, it's kind of hard to rest in peace. You know, your soul isn't at rest. So I'm hoping that happens.